Oh, welcome back to the Brew Review podcast number 17, Brewer fans. The sound you just heard was generating from Command Studios in Las Vegas, Nevada, where Scott Bartell is joining us once again. I guess right before we start each episode, he has the clapboard, even though we're not videotaping this. He claps, he says action, and then he claps the clapboard, and then we start. So that's very exciting for, I guess, himself. So, we do get to hear it. It's pretty exciting. So we're underway. Vince is joining us once again.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Vince. And our longtime friend Chad and member of the Brew Review. It's still AWOL once again this episode.
God, do you know where he is? You talked to him.
I don't know, to be honest, but I mean, I actually probably missed a ton of episodes back in the day, and I know Chad was there to, pick up that fumble and run with it. So I'm just happy to be able to do the same.
Also, if you hear
outstanding
an infant crying in the background, that is actually an infant. So
are we sure that Chad's okay though?
Oh, Chad's at a church festival. I'm sorry. He's betting on over-under at the church festival. I think he said he won a bottle of Dr. McGillicuddy's.
Huh.
Oh, wow.
Congrats to Chad. Great work, guys. Great job, Chad.
So joining...
Winning that whammies, it's pretty awesome.
Pretty well. JJ is also up from his nap, and I guess I don't know if it'll be called a nap, but I taught him how to say baseball.
Nice.
All right, so I will say for any scouts listening that he will be eligible for the 2033 MLB draft. This will be graduating high school that year, I hope. So I think I would like to scout him. Yeah, that would be great. So anyway, on that vein, let's start this episode by saying the amateur baseball draft is coming up right around the corner. I believe the first couple rounds start on June 4th. I believe it's a Monday evening coming up. So the Brewers have the 21st pick overall in the first round. Our minor league and draft expert Brandon will be chiming in with a mock draft, I believe, a week from now, if you want to tune into that podcast. But until then, I just wanted to bring up one point that might be of some interest to Wisconsinites listening in, and that is there is a high school baseball player from Waukesha West High School in Waukesha, obviously, that is projected to go in the top 15 picks of the first round coming up. Unfortunately, Brewers picked 21st, but you never know. He's left-hand hitting, and his name, outfielder, I should say, his name is Jered, Kelenic. And Vince, you know a little bit about Jered, and am I pronouncing his last name correctly for starters?
I think so. He and I have never met, but I did graduate myself and played varsity baseball for 3 years at Waukesha West. So came from the same program. And in fact, my old head coach is still the head coach there. So that coach was inducted into the Wisconsin Coaches Hall of Fame last year. Chad Montez, a great coach, and really neat to see the program get a little bit of hype and seeing this kid come out of the gates and the potential, probably very likely first rounder. Very exciting for the program. I know that there's been a few others that have been drafted from that program over the years, but none that are, that were first rounders or projected to be first rounders.
No, and I don't think it's been a while since, even though a Wisconsin high schooler has been drafted in the first round, I know actually from the Kenosha area, Gavin Lux was drafted by the Dodgers, and I believe the back half of the first round just a couple seasons ago. But I believe way back in like the early 70s, there was a top 5 pick out of West Allis, Wisconsin. His name is Gary Polzinski. He never ended up making the majors due to injury, but I believe he may be the highest ever drafted Wisconsin high school player. So there was talk that Kelenic could go in the top 10 picks, so you never know. He could eclipse that record. But anyways, it's exciting if you live anywhere near Waukesha and want to go see Jered before the high school season, baseball season ends, might want to do that. But yeah, definitely look for his name on June 4th and make sure it's tune back in a week from now to our podcast to get some more updates on the amateur baseball draft. That's obviously an integral part of an organization, especially a small market team like the Brewers. As you've known, for all you fans that have been watching the Brew review since the early days, how important a really good farm system is. So that'll be an important day for the Brewers.
I have a question, Craig. Why are we picking 21st? I thought we were tanking last year.
It didn't go that well, actually.
Thanks, Stearns.
But with that being said, and we'll talk about this more next week, but this would not have been the best year tank anyways. At the very top of the draft, there's not any super standout slam dunk number one overall player. So that would have, would have been the best.
Like Brian Taylor.
Exactly. Or even for like Corey Ray, for that matter, who, as we can segue into our next segment, we're going to be doing a prospect profile today on Corey Ray, even though both Vince and Scott in our pre-production meeting mentioned to me that we should not talk about Corey Ray so that he would get injured because he just had his best week as a Milwaukee Brewer, as a Milwaukee Brewer minor league player, as he hit 5 home runs over the last 7 games down at AA Biloxi. Anyway, I did not heed their warnings, and we're going to do a quick prospect profile on Corey Ray. So anyway, just from a few years back, he was drafted number 4 overall by the Brewers. I know that some Brewer fans wanted to take a picture at the time, but we instead went with an outfielder and what we thought was the best college hitter available, apparently. And obviously, for those who aren't aware, Corey Ray struggled his first couple of years. He was drafted in the 2016 draft, and during that season, we started him off at high A ball and did not do all that well. He actually bumped him back down to single A that same season. But overall, then, just to go over, kind of recap his stats, he hit 239 with an OPS of 278, 5 home runs, 10 steals that year. Last year, I think that at Brevard County High A once again, it's actually Carolina now. It used to be Brevard County. High A Carolina last year, he had 238, 279, almost identical OPS as the previous year, 7 home runs, 24 steals. Again, kind of disappointing numbers, and top 10 prospect list had him kind of toward the back half now, and his prospect shine was kind of losing a little luster. However, our minor league expert Brandon still had him in the top 5 of his top 30 future Brewers that we just revealed a couple weeks back. And so far this year at AA, he's hitting 262, 339 on base percentage, and an 827 OPS. So that is 150-point OPS higher than he's averaged each of the last 2 minor league seasons. And he's got 7 homers, 7 steals, so basically on pace for about a 2020 season with pretty good overall numbers. So obviously this week added into a lot of those numbers, but let's say that Corey Ray, in my opinion, is on the verge of hopefully re-solidifying his prospect status as one of the top prospects in our minor league system. What are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if he's able to re-solidify himself as a prospect, I think that's exciting. Whether we keep Corey Ray and he's a future Brewers outfielder, or whether we end up trading him and he kind of revamps his stock that way, and then we can go out and get somebody at the deadline by using him as a chip. Either way, that's a win-win for the Brewers. I do think that his skill set is really good. I mean, he's got a lot of speed. He's got some power potential. He's flashed, some good defense. I don't know, what it's going to take to get those numbers up on a more consistent basis, but he is still pretty, raw, it seems like, in a number of categories. So hopefully this year is a real growing year for him, and we can expect big things from him in the future, whether with us or with another team that we trade him to for somebody else.
Any thoughts, Scott?
Corey Ray's, obviously he's come around this year, and I think that it was a little bit of a wake-up call for him after his first year or two here with the Brewers, because he kind of realized that whatever he was doing wasn't working. I know actually going into this year he changed his batting stance. He started putting his hands up a little bit higher. I think it's a way of kind of keeping his hands back. I think he found himself lunging at the ball a little bit more. So hopefully that gives him a little bit more patience at the plate. But I think he was tinkering with his launch angle a little bit as well. Overall, I mean, it's nice to see that, some of his changes have started to bear fruit, and I just kind of hope he keeps plugging away.
If he were to, somehow turn it all around and really re-solidify himself as a genuine prospect for us, and he is still in the organization, he might be coming into his own, or at least getting some more big league time, kind of at the exact time that Lorenzo Cain's contract was ending. We signed Cain to a 5-year deal, of which he's playing in his first year, this year. So it could be kind of interesting with him only an A-ball. He really does have time to develop with Cain getting that big contract. So if he is our center fielder of the future, I could see him, working his way up through the minor leagues and then, being a sort of a protege for Cain, in one of Cain's last seasons on his deal. But we'll see. It's a long ways from now.
Yeah, exactly. And Cain's probably going to be, I think 38, 39, something like that in his last year. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if it was like a little bit of a changing of the guard and splitting time a little bit. And having, a mentor like Cain up there is obviously a great thing to have. So hopefully it works out.
Be really taking things full circle when Lorenzo Cain is actually that old and retiring, hopefully as a Brewer when he successfully completed his 5-year contract here, as we interviewed him in Appleton years ago.
Yeah, Cain hopefully will be a great mentor if they get to play together. If he stays a Brewer, he very well should be up with it before Cain's contract is over. He was drafted out of Louisville. And I think that he's possibly would be ready to reach the majors as early as next September, probably the start of 2020 at the latest. But as this year is proving with injuries and having Santana still on the roster and not traded, the depth that we seem to have at outfield, not just a luxury, but possibly a necessity moving forward, especially as Braun moves on in his years of our contract and his age and health issues continue to mount. I don't think he's someone who we can fully count on for every day at bats going forward, obviously. So I think that if he solidifies himself in the major leagues, he does one of two things: either force his way on the roster, or just as well as like Vince pointed out, really makes himself an valuable trade chip, which could be used to improve other areas of our ball club. So definitely some exciting developments, I guess, for Porter Ray so that he doesn't flame out as a prospect, and go the way of like Eric Arnett or someone like that. There are plenty of other first rounders who, even someone like Dave Krenzel, who just never really made it.
You start looking for that on the internet. Boy, that's a pretty deep rabbit hole you're going down.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, if you guys want to.
We still have the question, too, where Brett Phillips stands with this organization. I mean, this year I could see him doing what he's doing now and just being sort of that guy that gets called up, whenever an injury happens or when rosters expand and gets a little playing time for pinch hits. But we really haven't defined what Phillips' role is going to be going forward. And I could see him being a trade chip if he still has any value or stock left after, at the deadline this year. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with Phillips as well in this whole center field picture.
Well, he's starting to remind me, it's just a frame of reference, and maybe this is too obscure for Taylor fans, but as a current player, someone like Jake Marincek, who has been on the Marlins and now the Astros, who's basically someone who great fourth outfielder, bats left-handed, plays good defense, and play all three outfield positions. I think he's starting to profile more than that than an everyday starter, but you just never know. It depends on the team. Also, I mean, if he were on the Marlins right now, he'd probably be starting. But I think he does need regular at-bats. I mean, I don't think if he just comes up and is coming off the bench or being a fourth outfielder now at his young age, like he isn't going to continue to develop the way he should. So I think he's best served at AAA as much of this year as he possibly can, just from his development standpoint. Because never know. Maybe we will be able to move Santana at some point in the next calendar year, or Brock get permanently moved to first or something like that, or whatever. I mean, it's nice stuff to have, and I do like the fact that he hits left-handed and he play at 3 outfield positions. He's got a howitzer up an arm, and he could be a valuable player for depth, and for that very reason to hold on to too. So.
Yep, absolutely, Craig.
Yeah, you have to remember. I mean, we still have guys like Keon Broxton who played most of last year up at the bigs, and he's sitting down there too. So I mean, there's so much depth we have in the outfield, and obviously with all the injuries, it's proven to be a very valuable commodity. But it's hard to figure out where Brett Phillips stands.
I think conversely, as far as just moving on from a guy and that is given the age factor. I think Phillips is only like 24 and Broxton's 28-ish. I don't know those exact ages offhand, but Broxton was given a full season opportunity at the major league level, and Phillips has not gotten that opportunity yet. So I think they're at different stages, and Broxton, that's what I hope to back up and solidify any type of starting role going forward, obviously. But there were some rumors he was possibly trying some trade interest during this last offseason. So hopefully that comes about. Again, at this deadline, we can get something that we could use for him, or else keep him for depth. So,
Craig, are you saying that Keon Broxton is too old for spring break?
Well, no, he's not in his 30s yet. So, sorry, spring break. Yeah, definitely. He doesn't have time for that, though, with spring training.
No, you're right. I mean, I think at this point, people know exactly what they have with Keon Broxton. And I hate to say it, but his prime is basically right now. So, you know what you're going to get. He's going to strike out a third of the time. When he does square up the ball, he's going to hit it hard. But unfortunately,
for what it's worth. Oh, sorry, Scott. Go ahead. Yeah. Well, for what it's worth, I mean, to have a guy who's a 2020 guy sitting in your minor leagues is not a bad option for the Brewers to have. And to be in that position does show quite a bit of organizational depth when you've got, Phillips and Broxton a phone call away. You're in good shape in the outfield.
And his outfield defense alone makes him a valuable potential player.
Yeah, both those guys play outstanding defense. Really cover a lot of ground. And like you pointed out, Craig, Phillips has got a cannon for an arm. So it's always a good guy to put in the late innings defensively.
And that's why a lot of casual baseball fans really like guys like Santana, who are pretty terrible on defense but can hit and show other tools that are more, omnipresent to like a casual fan. But those defensive metrics and those for some of those players really help a actual ball club in ways that a lot of casual fans might not even notice. So it's kind of a horse piece, but I think you need a good mix of both types of guys, and Brewers, I think, have been constructed fairly well by Stearns and company. So, okay, well, let's move on to stepping up to the plate. This week we've got Vince with 9 innings of awesome questions. I'm sure that are going to fire through.
Yeah, well,
once again, Scott, this is going to be rapid because we're running a little short on time.
I was just going to say, take as much time as you need to, Scott, with these. They're, you want to put a lot of thought into them. And I don't know how good they are. I had to kind of cover for our colleague, Chad Collins, here at the last minute. But we'll go, Craig, why don't you lead off? And then, Scott, you answer and expound on your answers. And, again, take as much time as you need. Okay. Inning number 1. If you could only wear one Brewers player jersey for all time, who would it be?
Great question. That's a great question. I like it.
One guy.
Personally, the only jersey I actually have is Ron Belliard. I probably won't be able to afford another one.
There's mustard stains on that one, though, Craig. We got mustard on that, I think, in 2005.
That just adds to its character of the shirt or the jersey. But anyway,
Belliard.
I'll just go with number 45, Rob Deere.
Nice.
I'm going to have to go with the classic, the only Brewer Hall of Famer who spent his entire career in Milwaukee, the great Robin Yount. I mean, obviously starting as a shortstop, being an MVP, doing whatever he could for the team to help the team, even if that meant moving to center field and still being an MVP. I mean, man, just what a class act. Turning down more money from the Angels to stick around with Milwaukee. always being here, even after he retired, to mentor younger players. Just an absolute all-around class act. He finds nobody really has a bad thing to say about the guy. He's just a great all-around guy.
Yeah, you kind of stole some of my thunder. I was going to say Younter Molitor. Those are pretty classic. If you're going to go this generation, you can't go wrong with a Braun or a Prince, jersey. Or I'm going to go with Bob Uecker, though. I think that just I said played for the team. We'll go with Tim Dillard. Yeah, he really sums up a lot of what it means to be a Milwaukee Brewer. So yeah, I'll say Tim Dillard officially.
I mean, outside of his game-worn jerseys from like the handful of games he's played as a Brewer, I'm not sure any actual jerseys exist, but you should probably try to find one, maybe on eBay.
Yeah, you can go on there. Maybe he can answer our Twitter to him. He might respond and just send us one.
That would be awesome. So,
okay. Question number 2, inning number 2. Craig Mueller, what is the best trade in Milwaukee Brewers history?
The best trade?
Yep.
Oh, wow. Good question.
Thanks.
Wow, throughout history. Let's see. I'm sure there are better ones I'd have to go over, but just off the top of my head right now, I'm just going to go with the trade that brought Josh Hader from the Astros to the Brewers and got rid of Carlos Gomez.
Nice. Wow. Great pick. Scotty?
Boy, this is going to be bad because I don't really remember it because it was a little bit before my time, but it might be – okay, I'm actually looking up all the details of it because I was like, wait a second, I can't remember. But it was – I thought maybe the trade that brought Ted Simmons to the Brewers.
Yep, that's a classic. That is a classic trade.
And I just looked it up. Simmons was traded to the Brewers along with Pete Vukovich and Raleigh Fingers from the Cardinals in exchange for Sixto Lezcano, David Green, Larry Sorensen, and Dave LaPointe. So I don't know. That seems like a pretty good trade to me.
Well, what's weird is that Dave LaPointe actually pitched and I believe won a World Series game against us for the Cardinals. But yeah, you're right, Scotty. Pete Vukovich won a Cy Young Award in Milwaukee and so did Raleigh Fingers along with an MVP award. So it's tough to beat that one, I think.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
Also, guys, Scott, I know that you like to respond on your answer a little bit, but not even, all joking aside, I really only have 10% of my phone battery left.
Oh.
Just
okay.
in case I don't make it to the 9th inning.
Oh, yeah. We'll answer for you. Okay.
Okay.
Third, I'll just say quickly the Richie Sexton trade. I think that we traded Richie Sexton and Shane Nance to the Diamondbacks for Chad Muller, Junior Spivey, Chris Capuano, Jorge De La Rosa, and Craig Counselor. It wasn't so much that we got back as we used all those guys to plug in a bunch of different holes, and it's the trade that kept on giving. So, story marked the turnaround point for the organization. All right.
And we were able to acquire a future Hall of Fame manager in that deal, too, Craig Counsell.
Yes. That gets to another question here. Actually, perfect segue, Craig. Third inning. Phil Gardner has 563 wins as the Brewers manager. Craig Counsell is currently at 248. Will he pass him in his career as a Brewers manager?
I'll say yes.
I'm going to say yes. I think Craig Counsell has a very long leash with the Brewers organization with everything he's done so far.
Yep, I'm saying yes as well. I think he's here for at least another 3 or 4 seasons, but probably even longer.
Quick update for you, Vince. There are no Tim Dillard jerseys available on eBay right now, but you might be able to get a bobblehead.
But your intern can find one for me or just have it made, right, Scott? The same one the intern do it.
I don't know that Turquoise is going to be able to do that, but we'll see.
Priority number 1. Okay, inning number 4. Favorite section to sit in at Miller Park, Craig?
Favorite section?
Yep.
Not level, but section?
Section, Craig, yeah, section.
Lowe's section 219, first row. It's for game 2002.
Nice. Scotty?
I'm going to go with very specific seats. Lowe's Diamond 214, the last seat of row 1, because that way people aren't walking down and walking in your way. Whereas if you're in seat 1, people do. So the last seat of the row.
Boy, we all have very similar tastes. I picked 220 one on the aisle, row 1, seats 1 and 2. Wow. Great job, guys.
220 is actually where my season tickets were, but they were Lowe's Infield, row 9.
Scott, that's one of the first times I really got to know you, was sitting in a game with you in your old season tickets, if you recall, back in 2001.
It's awesome.
It is awesome, actually, looking back on it. All right, so for you guys that work at the Brewers, Lowe's Infield box is the way to go. Okay, inning number 5. Do you prefer the Brewers as a National League team or an American League team? Of course, the Brewers were an American League team from 1970 through 1997 and have been a National League team since then. And the Houston Astros are the only other franchise in Major League Baseball who has ever played in both leagues. I saw Washington Senators hat at the game today. That made me at the Nationals game today. That made me think of that. So that's why it's in here. What do you guys prefer, AL or NL?
NL.
National League, okay. Scotty?
I still prefer the NL, although I think it would be easier maybe to make the playoffs in the AL Central. But, I still like the NL. I still like that brand of baseball. Wish that both leagues had no DH.
Fair enough. I'm going to be a little different. I chose the American League mostly for nostalgic reasons, really. I just really enjoyed the set of teams specifically that the Brewers got to play against every year, and there's a lot of good memories of those teams. Yeah, well, that was fun, but, just not just the Yankees, but, seeing those great Orioles teams in the mid-'90s and the Indians teams in the mid-'90s, and, just had a lot of good memories with those visiting County Stadium teams for most of my life before Miller Park.
I know the Twins fans would come to town, and no one else. Like, none of the other fans traveled in that division.
Apparently the White Sox used to way back in the day, but yeah, you're right. Like when we, were probably all coming of age at County Stadium, that was not really the case anymore. But it kind of jogged my mind today too with the, Brewers Twin series. So just, no wrong answer with that one, just a preference.
Twins fans are 1,000 times better, kinder people than Cubs fans or Cardinals fans.
Yes, very true. I agree with that. Although our colleagues, Jubug and Chad Collins and myself, we did almost get into a scrape about a Brewers flag at the old Metrodome in 2007. Just FYI. Okay. Inning number 6. What is the best inside information our anonymous source, Tom Carter, has ever given us? The stuff that we're not supposed to, like, the inside stuff that he gives us,
Well, are we allowed to say that now that it's been that many years later?
Well, he still gave it to us for the show today, Craig.
Okay. Yeah,
probably okay.
Our anonymous source, Tom Carter.
I guess he told us that Johnny Estrada was an asshole and every clubhouse hated him.
Yep. Okay. Scotty?
Guys, remember when I think it was possibly Chad Collins posted on a certain fan forum for the Brewers?
Brewerfan.net, I think. Yeah.
It's possible. I don't remember. It was just one random forum like that. And they're all the same.
That one.
But he did say that I was an inside source that said that Giovanni Gallardo was coming back from his ACL tear early to start late in the season. I can admit now that I actually got that from my anonymous source, Tom Carter, or Tom C. rather. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, that's right. We're not supposed to say his name on the air. Well, whatever. I will go ahead and say that his inside information that Sean Markham was a clubhouse problem. I thought that was interesting. All right. So very interesting information from our inside source, who's anonymous, Tom Carter. Yep. All right. Inning number 7. If you couldn't be there in person but had to watch it on TV, where would you watch the Brewers in World Series Game 7? Like,
if we couldn't go to Miller Park?
Yeah, if you could not be at the stadium, whether it was home or away, you had to watch it on TV, where would you want to watch it? Any place.
I would pick, I guess, my brother's brand in the basement. He's got a nicer TV than I do.
Okay. All right. Scott?
Yeah, I hate to say it. I'd probably say like at my dad's house, surrounded by my family and friends. I know that's where I watched the last Super Bowl. That was kind of nice. But yeah, other than that, if it was all of us or something like that hanging out, I'd say I go back to Magoo's / Fourth and Long and just hang out there. And we were kind of celebrities there. It was kind of cool, and we had basically
sure.
our own TV. We had our VIP table there, and it brings back a lot of great memories. So I think I'd probably go there.
Yeah, they had the velvet rope service there for us. Yeah, it's a good point. I would say your guys' old apartment on Maryland and Locust. I really enjoyed that place, but now that you guys don't live there, it seems kind of stupid. So,
that was a great party house, though.
That was a great place. Yeah, Jane. I'll go with Jane. The old Long Longs on Blue Mountain, I guess, will be my answer if it can't be your old apartment on Locust in Maryland.
Speaking of our old apartment, though, that apartment, I did have to go to court with Super Review alum both Shag Towns and Uncle Junebug Nick Vino received a citation for disorderly conduct or something like that. And I, as the person on the lease of the house, had to get the citation, so I made him go to court with me. But anyway.
I don't think I was there for that night. That sounds really fun. I wish I would have been there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you went.
All right. What inning are we at now?
Did you win one, or did you win that one or lose that one, Greg?
I think we might have got the fine reduced, but no, it's still bad.
Nice. Inning number 8. I believe the pre-show we were up to 28, but what did you project that the Brew Crew Review's Twitter handle will get our 100th follower?
Oh boy. I'll go with we're already I'll say podcast number 100.
Okay, great. Scott?
Wow. I've really been trying everything I can to get followers and stuff like that. I would like to think that maybe the casual Brewer fan becomes a little bit more of a fanatic when we get close to the playoffs. I can optimistically say October 1st, but realistically, I'd say probably about 2 years from now.
Fair enough. I'm going to be a little more optimistic than you guys. I'm going to say right around the trade deadline, the week of July 31st, because Scott Bartell will break Brewers trade news like he did with the Johnny Estrada deal back in the 2006 offseason.
If Tom Carter, our anonymous source in the Milwaukee Brewers, actually gives me some of that info and I can, share it on Twitter, I know the folks at Brewer Fan love news, even fake news about possible transactions. They bite hook, line, and sinker on that stuff. So, that might be a good idea. We could get a lot of followers that way. Let's high heat.
Yeah, and Ben Hendrickson's dad, too. But, hey, Scott, just as a reminder, you can't say our anonymous source Tom Carter's name on the air. It's got to be either T. Carter or Tom C.
Oh, sorry about that.
I got that in my notes here, but I didn't see that. I didn't see that before our 6th inning question. I just see my notes here now. Okay, 9th inning, last inning. Craig Mueller, what is your favorite Brew Crew Review interview of all time?
It have to be Scott's first ever interview with Tim Dillard, which Scott was not the one in Nashville, was the one in Huntsville a year earlier in 2006, I believe. Because after the interview, Vince was not there for that trip, but me, Chet, and Scott were on the car on the way back. We were debating on whether or not Vince would be upset that he was not able to be along on the trip, and also to interview Dillard himself. But Scott got to do it, and one of my favorite quotes from Chad of all time, and there's plenty of them. He mentioned that, wow, Vince will be upset because that's like Scott being able to interview Dillard was like the equivalent of you taking the girl of your dreams to the prom, but then your buddy going home with her.
And having watched our old Brew Crew reviews on YouTube recently, guys, I actually figured out I was in Egypt during that trip, so that's why I was not there.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yep, but Scott really picked up the slack on that one. That was a great interview. It was classic, really, and our friend Tim Dillard loved it as well. So clearly by
so we're sitting in the Huntsville dugout for that one, I believe.
He didn't even like it on
amazing.
Twitter.
Oh, I got a full scouting report on that one.
Yes.
Scott, what's your favorite interview?
I was not there for this interview, but I guess I would say probably the one where I think we were interviewing Doug Melvin, and it was after Tom Hardicourt stuck his
our colleague,
there.
Our colleague Tom, yeah,
he was
great.
getting sound bites and getting in on our interviews, and we were like, "No, that's totally cool because we're nice people." And then when we did the exact same thing to him, like 10 minutes later, he was like, "Can I get a one-on-one here?" And it just freaked out. Very unprofessional of him. We all have our off days, I guess. Tom just may have had one that day. I'm sure he's a great guy.
No, he's not though. I mean, I know he's a college man, but I really try to let him know on Twitter exactly how we feel about him here at Brew Crew Review. But yeah,
We should set up some more baseball card checklists for, which I'm sure they've stopped producing. They probably stopped producing like in the mid '90s. They're like, why are we making these fucking checklists? No kids are actually collecting these cards and checking them off. So, but Tom.
Scott, make sure
Tom Hardicourt has a bunch of checklists that we have sent them for previous Christmases.
Scott, make sure our intern Jewel always take Tom and all of our tweets from here on out. I think that'd be kind of a good policy going forward for our intern staff.
Yeah,
he's got to get his information from somewhere, I guess. Guys, we only have about 40 seconds. I'm sorry. So.
Well,
let's wrap this up.
You guys stole both of mine. I'll quickly say Craig's interview with Lou Palmisano. Since you guys already mentioned, or
nice.
Chad with Hideki Matsui. Both classics.
Matsui is phenomenal.
Well, thanks, guys.
All right. Stay classy, Internet. Go Brewers.
Questions, brewcrewreview1@gmail.com, or what's our Twitter handle, follower? Or our Twitter handle, Scotty?
At Brew Crew Review and the number 1.
Great. Thanks, guys. Go Brewers. Stay classy.
Go Brewers.